Welcome back. Welcome back. Set. I started 10 seconds ago. All right. In case, exactly. In case you don't know who I am, Joe Thompson, president of the chapter. Welcome. I had to fix my iPad. I had a lecture earlier today, and when I opened my iPad, it was my notes for my lecture. So I had to fix that real fast. So, all right, we have an exciting. If you haven't been able to figure it out already, if you love the Astrodome, if you love Astros, if you love baseball history in this city, we have the perfect guest for you tonight, Chris. All right. So what I'm going to do real quickly, we have kind of two presentations tonight. A few of us, Bob, myself, Maxwell, actually, on the phone or on the Zoom call, Gloria, Luca, I got that right. Lucha, no, and Ert and Scott. We all went to SABR 50. Let me tell you, you missed it. It was great. So we have a presentation. We took a lot of pictures. Gloria has volunteered, or no, it was Luke volunteered to talk for an hour about our wonderful, exciting event. I'm only making fun of you because of what Bob. You know, I don't like to talk much, so it'll only be 2 hours. So we have. Hey, by the way, if you're online on Zoom, can you mute yourself, please? I don't know where the feedback is coming from. So, but before we get started, I want to welcome any guests. There's a few people that I haven't seen before. And if you could tell me who you are, tell us all who you are, where you're from, I would be perfectly happy.
Go ahead, stand up.
Go ahead and stand up. This is your first meeting.
Months ago, originally I'm from upstate New York, just outside North Cooperstown.
Yeah, close to Cooper.
Yeah, I'm Wes. I met Joe and a few other guys in Baltimore at the SABR convention, and decided it's finally time to sign up.
Yeah, thank you. From the Woodlands, right? Yeah, well, and
I'm Gavin, originally from Michigan. I was in Houston for about a year with my wife, so this one I've done.
yeah, welcome. Where are you from again? Michigan. What part of Michigan? A buddy of mine is from the Detroit area. My son, who's the world traveler now, he was at the Astros Tigers game this last week, and he was my friend was flipping out. Hey Joe, you were in town. I was like, no. But anyway, well, welcome. Stay tuned, especially the new members. I guess this is as good time as any. I was talking to Bob about this, and I'm thinking about especially after our meeting, SABR 50, we had a chapter leaders meeting about different ways we can connect with the chapter and make sure people feel involved and welcome and stuff like that. So I've decided that starting next month on a Saturday, for about an hour and a half a day, or an hour and a half on Zoom, I'm going to have like a welcome new members kind of Zoom call. All right. So you don't have to show up here. But I want y'all to, it'll be a chance for all the new members to log in online. Just tell us who you are, why you joined SABR, where are you from, and get to meet some of us. Now, you don't have to be a new member to log in. You could just, if nobody shows up that's new, we could just talk baseball for a little while. But it'll just be about an hour or so. And I think this is a way where new members feel welcome. So I just think that's something cool. We'll do this every month or every other month or something like that. So this will be a chance for, I'm terrible with names. I already forgot names anyway. I'm sorry. But this, what's that?
Joe Thompson. But Chris will get my name tag.
Yeah, Chris will make y'all a name tag after tonight. So stay tuned.
If you're a member as of last Monday, you have a name tag. And you're local, you have a name tag.
Oh, okay. So you guys probably have a name tag. So there you go.
Unless you live outside Grand Parkway.
Yeah, which means that I had to beg.
Right.
Oh, we didn't have a name tag when I did.
You got a special dispensation.
All right. Oh, one other thing I would like to
They have items in the and Jim and
get a lot of feedback.
There's Bob's TV's on it.
Oh, Bob's, all right, okay. I'm sure everybody here knows Brownie, Bill Brown, and Ted Meyer, who gave a presentation a couple months ago. It was a great presentation about baseball dynasties. They are having a special event on Thursday, September the 29th. It's called An Evening of Baseball with Ted Meyer and Bill Brown. It's the Lake House at Town Lake in Cypress. And tickets are $10. Hors d'oeuvres will be served, and there'll be a cash bar. And he is Ted, and wanted me to send this out. Everybody's invited, okay, to spend a little time with Ted and Brownie. So go ahead and go. I'll be there. So more than likely.
What time?
Oh, Thursday. Oh my goodness. No, I won't be there. Over the summer, my wife kind of wrote me into being a Little League coach for my grandson. So Tuesdays and Thursday nights are Little League games. Our first game is tomorrow. Actually, we had a scrimmage on Friday. We're the Astros, by the way. So my grandson loves that. And how ironic it was that our scrimmage was against the White Sox. So the Astros beat the White Sox again. So it was a great time. But I'll be coaching. So yeah, it's the Lake House at Town Lake. I'll send it out. It's 10,000 Town Lake Parkway or something like that. I'll send it to you.
what was the title of the event?
An Evening of Baseball with Ted Meyer and Bill Brown. Okay. No, I'll send out a copy of the presentation, or a copy of the PDF that they sent out. So, all right. Just in case you missed it and you want to go back and watch, all of our meetings ever since we started Zoom have been uploaded to YouTube. Okay, so new members, if you've missed a meeting and you want to go back and listen to some of our great guests in the past, like David Jerome, who's on the line here, who's writing a biography about Bill Burton. How's that going, by the way? Getting ready to come out? Dave?
I've talked to the publisher recently, and we're still looking at a 2022 publication date, but 2022 is fastly going by. So I'm hoping for by December. The manuscript's been completed since last November, and I'm not sure what's holding it up, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Yeah, the Bill Burton, one of the largest meetings we've ever had. It was like almost 80 people was online because Bill Burton was in attendance. It was one of the last times he made a public appearance, I guess. You know,
Jim Click is another.
yeah, Jim Click, James, yeah, we've had people like that. Last month, well, in July, David Krell, who wrote a book about 1962 baseball in the time of JFK, he spoke with us, had the Houston connection. I saw David again in Baltimore. He signed his book for me. You know, that was pretty. He has a new book coming out called 1966. So that's pretty neat. So next month, our meeting is tentatively scheduled for Monday, October the 17th. That could be a problem because it's game 5 of the ALDS. Okay, so depending on the Astros playoff schedule, we may have to change some things around.
We watched it here on the big screen with you.
You know, we've done that before. I think we watched a World Series game or something like that here once we had a meeting. So our scheduled guest is Dan Taylor. He wrote a book about football great Kenny Washington. Now, before you're like, football great? Yes. This is a SABR baseball meeting. Kenny Washington had a SABR, he had a baseball life. Right, and that's what Dan Taylor is going to tell us about. All right, so in fact, the book is called The Almost Jackie. So if you know a little bit about Kenny Washington and you're interested in that, stay tuned. I'm not going to talk much about this because we're already losing time. I always like to bring up some Astro stuff that's going on. I was talking to Greg about this before the meeting. Why isn't Fromber in the Cy Young conversation? You know, because he's not Verlander, right? Is that a foregone conclusion? Greg doesn't think Ohtani's going to win the Cy Young. Y'all agree? You don't think he wins the Cy or the MVP because of Judge, right? So that's pretty. But Fromber has the major league record now for most quality wins in a row. I think it's
Starts.
in a single season. I thought it was funny because about 20 minutes after that, MLB put a Facebook post up that said Jacob deGrom does 40 quality starts in a row. It's like you couldn't give Fromber 15 minutes of fame. Yeah, he broke DeGrom's record.
Season is 26. So once he gets it, if he gets 2 more quality starts in a row, he'll open the major league record forever.
Oh.
Well, that's
Become a major league record.
all of the stuff.
You started keeping.
Greg said when they started keeping track of it. Yeah.
Twice qualified for a win and did total by pitching a no hitter.
Yeah.
65 and
That's right.
that's ever.
I don't know.
It's been happening when there were 7 innings. Happened this year. I said, has any one pitcher ever did a total twice one same year while he's pitching hitter? 2 separate games. A lot of people did total pitching a no hitter once. But after 5 or 6 innings, it's not really no hitter territory. Well, it's a quality start. Yeah, sure it is. There's no hitter. I just wondered if anybody's ever done that. They didn't used to go on pitch counts. No. No, that's the problem. Yeah, that's not the question. They're running on it. No. That's it. Times in one season. That's the question.
Well, he's probably got it because as he said, they didn't worry about pitch count. The guy would stay in the game. And so
So nobody's hurt.
I know, but I doubt it.
Personally,
It's a young man's game, Mike. It's just passion.
All right, a couple other things real fast. Marcia's in London. She arrived this morning. I'm pretty sure she was paying attention to the funeral. So we're still looking for someone to take over for her as chapter secretary. I also would like somebody, if they could, maybe I have to set up a committee or something like that, to help me out a little bit with keeping the website updated. There's some other stuff I want to do. I have some more plans for the website and getting more people involved here at SABR. So if anybody is interested in that kind of stuff, feel free to talk to me. Okay. So I said meet the new chapter members, right? Saturday, October the 8th. I said that.
can give a date.
Saturday, October the 8th from starting at 11 o'clock. Well, I'm a Cougar fan, so I really don't care about either one. So, and if it was me, you don't need to watch those two anyway. So, yeah, so. Tony, our next chapter newsletter is going to be out 2 months, month from now.
It's on.
World Series special or just whatever, right? Okay. So anybody does any writing, want to just write anything about baseball? You want to share your thoughts? Send it to Tony and Scott. you know, just, we're putting another newsletter together, so it'll be easy. All right. When's the submission due date? Middle of October. So, all right. Mr. October. So let me get to our guest. And again, those of us who went to SABR 50 will have a presentation after this. But I want to give Chris all the time in the world he wants. Chris, as you know, you've been a member of the chapter for a while. I know you have the baby, so you've been kind of busy lately. And if you don't know anything about Chris, just look up here. That's all you really need to know. I'm particularly interested in the jumbo hot dog wrapper. I told him to bring specifically that one. Literally. So Chris, you want to introduce you? So you run Constellation Tours.
Yes,
And you used to work for the Astros.
I used to work for the Astros. So I did 20 years in the Navy. I used to navigate nuclear power submarines. When I retired from the Navy, I went to work for the Astros, running their tour department. I did 5 seasons there with those folks, and then started my own business, and that's what I do now. So kind of going into what I do here with this stuff. When I was with the Astros, I started a new tour with them called the Touch of History Tour. And what we would do is we would break out some artifacts from the. Oh, sure. Hey, everybody. All right. So I would break out some items from the team's archives, but the Astros archives didn't go very deep with a lot of dispersed history from the older days. So I started accumulating my own collection to bring in and augment the stuff that we would break out from the archives. And what ended up happening was my stuff soon outnumbered by far the stuff that we were breaking out from the archives. So we would break that stuff out and tell the history of baseball in Houston using those items. So some of the items that the Astros still have over there, and that's really great stuff. They have Dizzy Dean's cleats from 31. A lot of the things that were back in the old Houston Baseball Museum that was at Fingers Furniture. The Astros ended up with some of that stuff. So we would use those items to tell the history of Houston baseball and go all the way through with that. Now, I left the team last October after the series, and they discontinued that tour, but I still do a version of that called the holding history through my business here. So what I'm going to do today is a smaller version of that, because Houston baseball history takes a couple of hours to tell, and we're not going to take that much time in here for that today. Plus, the SABR chapter here, the Larry Dierker chapter, wrote the book literally on Houston baseball history, so it would be kind of redundant for me to tell all of that stuff to the people that wrote the book. But what I'll do is, as Joe said, he wanted me to bring the hot dog wrapper here, so that's literally the only thing he asked for. I decided that it's the Larry Dierker chapter, and September's a big month for Larry Dierker himself. So figured we'd talk about the namesake a little bit and kind of build everything around that. So those of you who don't know, Larry Dierker's birthday is in 3 days. 46, and so his birthday is the 22nd, which also is the day that he broke into the major leagues when he was 18 back in 1964. So Larry Dierker is by far, in my opinion, one of the very most important people that ever existed in the history of Houston baseball. He's the only person in the franchise history that was a uniform member of the team in all 3 major league stadiums that they played in. So he was, of course, in uniform pitching for the Colt 45s in 1964. He pitched in the Astrodome as an Astro. And then, of course, years later, he was in uniform as a manager for the Astros, and then was the manager still whenever they broke ground and moved into their new stadium at Enron Field at the time, now Minute Maid Park. So we have a little bit of stuff from each of those stadiums. I won't go into too much detail on the first game in Colt history, because that's kind of not what we're talking about here. But there are some items here from that. This batting helmet's pretty cool. It's not Larry Dierker's, and it's not from the '62 season, but yes.
That's okay. You're fine. Yeah.
This helmet here is from the '64 season. Now, this belonged to Nellie Fox. So it's got his number 2 on the inside there. You can see that. There's an old, forget the type of tape they call that, but the little label tape from back in the day with the, what's that? Yes, that's exactly. It says Fox on the back there. Of course, Nellie Fox is a Hall of Famer, and was brought over to really train up Joe Morgan. The seat there is from Colt Stadium as well. Now, this seat did come out of the Astrodome as well, because whenever they took the seats out of Colt Stadium, they moved most of them over to the Astrodome and utilize them for all kinds of stuff. You'll see pictures of Muhammad Ali in the club, in the visitors clubhouse, getting ready to go out and fight. And in the background, there's Colt Stadium seats at all the lockers. You'll see pictures from the 70s of Dan Pastorini and all of these old Oilers players, and they're all sitting around the chalkboard, all in these pastel colored seats from Colt Stadium. So this is one of the old standbys that was fortunate enough to have still been in there over the last decade, and we were able to get it out of there. The Astros do have, actually, Mike Costa has some that the Astros are borrowing right now. So there's not very many of those in existence. But Larry Dierker did pitch in front of that on his 18th birthday. He was called up when he was 17 and was put in to start a game on his 18th birthday. That was his debut, which was on September the 22nd of '64. In that game, he did play against the San Francisco Giants. And he did strike out Willie Mays in the very first inning. It wasn't his first strikeout, it was his second, but it did close the inning. So that's a pretty cool thing to do on your 18th birthday. I'm sure you would say that. But at any rate, this jersey right here is Larry's from the 1969 season, which was another important season for him. See the 100th anniversary patch on the shoulder there. Of course, the Astros patch here. And his number 49. Sorry?
What anniversary?
The 100th anniversary of Major League Baseball was in 1969. So they had the logo design then and had that put on his shoulder. Now for Larry Dierker, he also became a 20-game winner that year. He was selected for the All-Star game. 6 Astros pitchers selected for the All-Star game. The 5th to actually pitch in the All-Star game. Not in that jersey, I don't think, but the authentication program didn't exist back then, so you don't know exactly what games he wore that in. I don't remember personally if that was a American League game or a National League game. So whether or not he actually wore his home Astros jersey in the All-Star game, but he did wear that in the dome. And the anniversary of him achieving his 20th game, his 20th win that year was actually in September as well, as just 3 days ago, actually 2 days ago, Saturday. And he also set the record for, actually it's a franchise record still, for 20 complete games thrown in 1969.
And over 300 innings, 305, I think.
Very cool. So September again, big year, big month for Dierker. Now he went on to continue pitching in the Astrodome, and in 1976 did throw a no-hitter in the Astrodome, which brings us to our next board here. So this is our Astrodome concessions board. Now the reason why we would associate the two is because he happened to throw that on July the 9th, 76, which was a Foamer Friday. And here in our concessions there, concessions were a big deal on Foamer Fridays. How many of y'all went to a Foamer Friday? Okay. Did they actually get the Foamer for you?
Yeah. I want over.
Oh, come on. I talked to a guy, actually, that's one of the cool things about this. I do a full setup. It's about a 500 square foot portable baseball museum where we break out a lot more. We break out basically everything we got and set that up. And you get so many people that come through and they tell you their stories. And there was a guy that visited me back in July, and he was telling me about his Foamer experience, how he was only 16 years old, I think, but he went with a buddy of his and his dad. And they bought their tickets in advance, so they were sitting off somewhere else. So he was sitting by himself out in center field. And whenever the Foamer happened, he's like, "Well, they're not going to card me because they can't card everybody. There's so many people that are going to go up and get free beer." And I'll tell you about Foamers here in a second, what that means. But he ran up there, and of course, I didn't card him, so he got him 2 beers and drank as fast as he could and went back and sat down. So 16-year-old, he wasn't old enough either, but he just played his card. So what a Foamer was is on Fridays in the mid 70s, well, in general, the Astros weren't doing pretty that well at the box office. The attendance was pretty low, and in order to try to get people to come to the games, they started a promotion. That promotion was that if an Astros hitter was to hit a home run while this magical light was on out on the scoreboard, which came on only on even numbered minutes, by the way, then it was free beer for everybody in the ballpark that was old enough to drink. And it was as much as you could drink for the rest of the game. So literally, if you were 18, because the drinking age was 18 back then, you were 18 years old and an Astros hitter hit a home run while the light was on, you could go up there and get as many beers as you could carry, drink them all, and keep going and doing that until the final out of the game, because last call was final out of the game. So back in those days, oh yeah, you're right. The Astros didn't hit a lot of home runs. Yeah, I mean, it's the Astrodome. They didn't hit they didn't have the power to do it really that much. And the dome was a cavernous, it was a pitcher's park. So in order to help alleviate that, they came out with this little item here. So after this is over with, to y'all, I'll leave all of this up through the next presentation. Y'all feel free to come up and take pictures, look at this stuff closer. But there's newspaper ads that are here that are the mock-ups before they actually got printed in the paper. And they talk about Phone Fridays. And in it, they name a particular slugger on the team that they're facing. So here's a Chicago Cubs game. They're naming Bill Madlock. Over here, it's for the Phillies. They're talking about Mike Schmidt. And if that particular hitter was to come up and strike out while the light was on, which is a lot more possible with the Astros pitching, you had J.R. Richard, you had Larry Dierker, and all of these guys back then. Then it was also free beer for everybody. So that actually happened on Larry Dierker's no-hitter night. He struck out the batter. I forget who it was, but they were playing the Expos. Struck him out in the 8th inning, and so everybody rushed.
Joe McKinnon.
Well, yes, that's the name. That's right. You were there, right?
Notice later.
So on the 8th inning, the strikeout occurred. Everybody rushes to go get their free beer. And Larry Dierker said that was the least watched final out of a no-hitter that he thinks that there has ever been. He said, he's down getting ready to go for the final out of the game. He paces around behind the mound, takes it all in, looks around the dome. And the people that were there a few minutes ago weren't there now. But this last call, and it's all you can drink free beer. So he, of course, got his final out and got his no-hitter. That's why there's a Homer Friday.
Was a good, yeah.
No. Quite a few other things here from Astrodome concessions. There's a menu from the Astrodome Club. There's some other items up here. So if you want to take a look at those, feel free to as well. Of course, the main item that y'all wanted to see tonight out of all of this stuff was the hot dog wrapper. That's over here. Now, this one's never been used, so you don't have mustard and relish and things on it. It's actually the only one I've ever seen in pristine condition like that. I haven't seen any that weren't in the actual Astrodome at the time. But this one was actually manufactured and displayed by the manufacturer at trade shows. So some guy ended up getting it at a trade show, and that's how I ended up with it years later. The hot dog wrapper right up there. So it does have the Aeroserve logos on it because Aeromark used to be called Aeroserve. So does the popcorn. I don't know anybody eat popcorn out of those. I'm sure if y'all went to Phone Fridays and y'all had to have had popcorn. So you tear the little thing off there and make a megaphone out of it. And of course, what would a concession board be without concession prices? This is when the dome first opened in '65. The cost of a hot dog back then was 35 cents, and it's a big deal when we have Dollar Dog Night on Tuesdays now. So huge markup there. But I think the beer actually was the most marked up item since then. Bottled beer back then was 50 cents, and draft beer was 50 cents as well. So now, if you're going to the World Series, then you're going to be paying upwards of $28, $30 for a beer. Now, of course, our seat from the Astrodome here. A lot of people don't know what this is. Anybody recognize that? So on the sides of every row, you have the indicator there to what row you're on. This is one of the screen prints they use, or the silk screens for painting the row numbers on there. You don't see a lot of those. Okay, so the Phone Friday was up on the scoreboard. That's where they put the little light. So we'll talk about the scoreboard. Right here is Ed Henderson original. This is the Pitchin' Impossible cartoon. This is the storyboard. So what would happen is when the Astrodome opened up, it had the very first animated scoreboard, and it was the largest in the world as well. The scoreboard was 475 feet wide, 4 stories tall. Of course, you had the home run spectacular with the dancing cowboys shooting his gun off, and then the steer that would get roped by the cowboy, and before it all starts there, you got the ball being blown out of the roof of the dome. So very popular cartoon, but in the middle of all that, you had the Astrolight. The Astrolight was, I don't know if you can see some of these here are too small, these postcards, but in the center of all of that, you had the Astrolight. And what the Astrolight was is basically right here where this book here, Chester chart, it was shaped like this. It was down in the middle. Yes. Is that better? There you go. So it was shaped like this Chester Charge right here. Chester Charge, of course, being the mascot. He actually suited up as a mascot in the '70s. but first he debuted on the scoreboard. And so that's where they showed their cartoons. The cartoons were drawn by Ed Henderson, who had been a cartoonist at Disney before. Actually drew a lot of the stuff that was in the Beauty and the Beast motion picture back in the day. So they were able to snag him to come to Houston to draw these cartoons. So it would go from a storyboard where he would draw up each frame that he wanted, or the idea of the frame sequence that he wanted for the cartoon. And then once that was finalized, you come up with these cells. This is an original cell from the same cartoon. See that there? That would have been about right in here on this frame. Here about that part. And so then they would photograph each of those guys and put it onto film like this. And so this is actually an original from back in the day. This is the bomb tilt one. So I don't know if you've ever seen it when they have tilt on the scoreboard when the visiting player would hit a home run or something. They would put tilt like on a pinball machine back in the day. So this is the one that had the bomb, would say tilt. And then we have another one here, the anti-charge for the Cardinals. You ever seen any of the anti-charges on the old scoreboard? This one here has the cardinal bird, and he's flying through the air, and instead of going dun, 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 he's going baka 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 baka, and then he crashes because Cardinals. That's the anti-charge. So those are the types of cartoons that they would show up there. But they would project that with a movie projector onto the back of this board, and the board was photosensitive and would transmit all of that stuff electronically onto the actual scoreboard, so you would be able to see whatever it was they were projecting. And you could also put people in front of that board and have them move around and dance. And who was telling me the story earlier here about, was it? Somebody was telling me about the clapping of the hands. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I thought so. So, and you would see, I don't know, did you ever see them go with the clapping? Okay. So, who was it? Somebody, you said somebody, you can tell the story. No. You told me a little while ago, so I hadn't heard that yet. But it wasn't. I'll bring it up. So at any rate, the projectionist could stand in the back and actually go in front of the projector and do live motion. So they would do the clapping like this to get everybody to clap their hands. Sometimes they would film it, I believe, and then show it on the board later. But have folks in these outfits with the astronaut helmets on, so you could see it in the silhouette. It looked like the grounds crew, and because of the helmet, and they would be dancing and sweeping with their brooms and stuff like that. Now, the grounds crew, of course, wasn't normally part of the scoreboard. Now, these helmets were actually worn by grounds crew, and they were also worn by parking information personnel. The jumpsuits were a little bit different between the two. They both wore orange jumpsuits, but the grounds crew jumpsuits had a little bit of extra black piping on the shoulders, a little bit different than what the parking folks wore. But this is what they were, and they would go out there between innings, and because they were the Astrodome, they would vacuum the turf instead of breaking it and doing all the other things. Now, they didn't necessarily, the vacuum weren't even plugged in. They didn't need to do that. This is actual AstroTurf. Of course, the reason why they had AstroTurf is because they had to paint the roof tiles white. Y'all know that story? Yeah. I would assume so. So the glare, the dome was originally planned with real grass. The glare coming through the ceiling tiles in the Astrodome or the skylights was just too much to be able to see the baseball. So before opening day in '65, they painted all the skylights white. So whenever they played against the Phillies for actual opening day, you could see the ball better, but of course the grass died. So by the end of the '65 season, they're spray painting the grass green so that it looked like a baseball field. And in the off season, Monsanto was able to show them a sample of what they had put into another field up in Rhode Island, a school field. And the HSA, the Houston Sports Association, who owned the Astros at the time, decided it would be a good idea to try it out. So they put some AstroTurf, or it was called Chemgrass at the time. They put it in the infield of the Astrodome to start the '66 season. And it proved very successful. Of course, they renamed that AstroTurf because of the Astrodome and because of the Astros. And by July of '66, they went ahead and replaced the whole outfield with it. So the entire field was done with AstroTurf. Now, this is newer AstroTurf. This was the turf that was in the dome when they shuttered down. So it's a lot thicker. The original stuff was about that thin. So a lot harder on your knees. That's why a lot of the players from back then that played most of their career on turf, you see them in wheelchairs and using canes and stuff now, because it was horrible on their knees. Horrible on their knees. Oh, you didn't? Okay, here. Intermission here. Tell that story.
Okay, so this is again, it's about the
The Astrolight.
yeah. So Michael Schwab, if you've heard that name, he's an Astros writer. He does the Juice Box Journal. He posted this. You can actually learn something on Twitter every once in a while. All right, but he posted this on Twitter 23 hours ago. Back in 1965, my mother went to an Astros game at the Astrodome right when it opened. She noticed that the crowd wasn't clapping at the same time. She wrote the team suggesting that cartoon hands on the scoreboard could help the fans clap together. The Astros wrote back. Here's I don't know if it is, but you put a copy of the letter on Twitter. The letter was addressed to my mother from publicity director Bill Giles. This is the same Bill Giles who went on to be an owner of the Phillies from 1981 to 2013. He thanked her for the suggestion and said they would look into it. And then the Astros then created clapping hands. According to Astro Talk, an Astros employee sat behind the Astrolight screen and clapped his hands in front of a light projector. His clap would sync with the bulbs on the screen and it looked like animation. This is kind of, I could pass it around. So you actually learned something on Twitter.
I want to ask Chris, because I'm pretty sure they didn't have computers operate on. So the sound was done.
The sound, I'm not sure. I believe it was done manually. They didn't have, as far as computers, they had rudimentary computers. It was operational boards, basically. They weren't really computer computers, but it took 6 operators initially to operate that board when it first came out. And of course, as it modernized over time, it had fewer operators required.
Wayne Chapman used to do all of that. He's a member of the chapter in the South.
Okay.
Doesn't come to meetings anymore because he can't hear.
Yeah.
He likes to come, but he doesn't know what's happening. But he was the guy that operated all of it.
I've talked to a couple other folks. We have I'll do a shameless little plug here. There's a couple of Facebook groups that just started up pretty recently. There's one, it's the it's a really long name, but it's memorabilia for the Buffs, Colt 45s, and Astros. And in that, there's a lot of history being shared. And there's a fella in that actually used to operate that, and his hands were up on the board quite often doing the clapping as well. But if you're not a member of that one, look it up. Just check it out. If you put those words into it, you'll find it. You'll find a lot of great information. You'll find a bunch of lies on there people post too. I'm teasing you.
I can't very well.
I'm teasing. Now, the reason why I have this one with the scoreboard display, this is actually one of my favorite covers. So Bill Giles, the old publicity guy for the Astros, who you actually just mentioned, he would design these covers or have them designed, and they would poke fun at all the other teams. And this one here looks, in 1966, with the Cubs, the little Cub there drinking a bottle of LSD, that's pretty suggestive, but it tells you underneath here, there's a little asterisk there, and underneath there it says Leo S. DeRocher, because Leo DeRocher was very, very outspoken against AstroTurf. So they were basically saying he was a big baby about the AstroTurf. And it's kind of funny too, because whenever they finished replacing the whole field with AstroTurf, the last little batch of dug up, dead, dry brown grass that was spray painted green, they actually put it in a box and shipped it to Wrigley Field, care of Leo DeRocher, to show him, look, dude, if you want us to play on this, or you would rather play on. And it's ironic because he finished his Hall of Fame career as an Astros manager back in 72, 73. Came full circle. Now these bulbs here are actually from the scoreboard. I'm not going to bring them out there because I don't want to drop them and break them because they're very rare. You don't see them very often. But the bigger ones were down here were used in the Home Run Spectacular, and the smaller ones here were all on the different message boards that you'll see up here for the box scores and such. Now, unfortunately, the boards did come out in 1988. They shut it down. The last player to ever set off the board was Glenn Davis, who hit a home run in the 8th inning on the last day that they were going to use. This is his cap. I don't think he was wearing it that day, but this is Glenn Davis' cap here. That's why it's up here. Now, people blame the Oilers for the removal of the board. It wasn't necessarily the Oilers' fault. They've been talking for years about taking the board out to add extra seating. Of course, the technology had evolved quite a bit over the couple of decades that it was in existence. The Astrolight had already been removed several seasons before, and a Jumbotron was put in its place. And they did have another board off to the side. You can see it in this picture. If you look real close over here, there's a little Astros win sign over there. That's a cue, what they call the cue view. If you remember the sound that would make, it would sound like, what did they say in the Bible about the day of Pentecost? It sounded like a mighty rushing wind. And that's what it sounded like whenever that thing would operate, because it was essentially a box that had a gajillion little cubes, and the cubes were colored white, red, blue, and green, and they would flip like the old airport flight arrival boards used to do. And so you'd hear that shuffling sound, but except for a huge scoreboard doing it. And that's what they would use over there. Now there's a Wells Fargo sign, I believe, over there or something. But at any rate, the whole board came out in '88 after the '88 season. And the cartoons, the Ed Henderson cartoons, were digitized though in the 1990s, I believe, early 90s. So when you would go to games in the Dome in that time, you could still see on the Jumbotron and watch Pitching Impossible, which was my favorite cartoon growing up. And of course, what's that?
What was your favorite?
Pitching Impossible, the one that's over here. That's the one that you had the Mission Impossible soundtrack going to, and of course, the pitcher after he gets sent to the showers, he still blows up anyway, even though he had his special little baseball phone. Basically, yeah. But at any rate, the last part over here, we're going to talk about Dierker some more. We're going to go back to him. So, of course, he after he was done playing, he went to the Astros front office for a little bit, became a broadcaster for a long time, and was a very good broadcaster. He's actually in the Astros Media Wall of Honor as the broadcaster. But then in 1997, without any experience managing or coaching, he came out of the booth and suited up again in an old number 49 uniform and became the Astros manager, where he was a very, very good manager as well. The team hadn't been to the postseason since '86, and in his rookie season as a manager, he goes and takes them to win the National League Central title, their first Central Division title it was. And he didn't just stop there, because he actually won that division 4 times in 5 years. So did all that with a brain tumor and having to stop partway through the '99 season after collapsing in the dugout to have brain surgery. So very successful at everything that he ever did. So he's actually in the Astros Hall of Fame as a player and as a manager and as a broadcaster. So that's Larry Dierker. This jersey here is actually from his final All-Star game. So first season of being an All-Star. Last All-Star game, he actually wore this one in the All-Star game. He acted with a coach in that one in Cleveland. Over here we do have a seat from Enron Field, which is now Minute Maid Park, because he did open that as the manager. So again, the only person in franchise history to be uniformed in all 3 stadiums. And this seat here actually came out of section 337, which is like metal sign there. Anybody know what else happened in 337? 2019? This is where Jordan hit his bomb. So this seat here was on the ADA aisle, so at the top of the section 337. His was just about 3 rows down where he hit the ball. So yeah, way up there, section 337. And I'll go ahead and cut it there unless anybody has any questions.
How about the bunting?
The bunting's just for this is what I use in the museum when I do my portable museum setup. So just to give it some flavor. Yes, sir.
Has anybody besides Dierker done all 3 things like that? Played, managed?
I'm sure there has to be some. I don't know about for the Astros. I know that there's other players. There's folks out there that have played.
There's an announcer that did manage San Diego.
I can't think of something.
Was Chicago and manager that became, I guess, like broadcast.
Adam Roderick, Boston.
Ah,
Jerry Coleman. What Martinez did he do?
He managed the Windows.
Chris, do you have you have a lot of different stuff, people donate stuff to you, do you have ex-players that donate stuff to you? Any
I don't think I've
wild,
had any ex-players. I've had some, the county was fortunate enough to donate me some items from the Astrodome. So they're the ones that gave the silk screen there and stuff. That's probably my biggest donor so far. I get a lot of smaller donors, which is really great to have. One of the displays that I use at the portable museum is just souvenirs, things that people would buy either at Colt Stadium souvenir stands or at Galaxy Gifts in the Astrodome or whatever. And some folks come, they tour the museum, and then they'll show up the next day and here's some stuff that I got back in 1970, whatever, and it's really cool. And it fits right in with all the other stuff. But That's typically the donation. Everything else, I have to come out for and buy. And it's gotten a lot harder lately with a lot of the collectors that are out there. Things go a lot higher, so it's a lot harder to come
So
up.
you have a museum?
I do have I have a portable, so it's portable Houston Baseball Museum. I do pop-up setups, and so I did one in Richmond at a private school over the summer that lasted quite a while. It was like a 3-week thing.
Will email us about that.
Right.
I think the day before you left.
Yeah, I did.
So that was the first long setup like that. And I think the next time I'm gonna be able to do that will be December, is what I'm looking at during the holidays at the same school. Finding a venue is the long lead on that, because of the fact that it costs a lot of money to rent a place, and I don't charge much for the tickets at all. So I would lose money big time if I didn't do it at the school. My wife is the assistant principal of it. I didn't get to do it for free. That's the only way we can get away with it right now. Now, of course, would be to have a permanent museum. I think Houston needs to have a permanent museum again for baseball, so that we can share the stuff with the public. That's why I do it. I think that it's stuff that should be able to be seen in person. And of course, some of these items you can hold in your hand and get a closer look. And if there's something that you do want to hold in your hand and get a closer look at after this is all over with, by all means. I do have a few more things right here.
I keep building my building. Another idea. That's a great.
So this doesn't have anything to do with Dierker and all of that, but we are going into postseason mode here pretty soon. So I brought my postseason ring from my time with the Astros. So these are the real rings from 17, 19, and 21. I will let y'all hold these and see them too if you want to after we're done with this. So if you want to get a closer look, by all means, come on and take a look at them.
Can I take one home and show my wife?
We can talk about that. You can read it. Right. Any other questions?
So you said you,
Sorry.
where'd you get the? So schoolwork?
Oh, these right here?
Yeah.
This came from a collector that purchased them from Ed Henderson. So Ed used to sell a lot of his items. This particular board here, it's the complete collection of that one cartoon. It was all kept together because Ed would actually display this when he would go to shows himself. And then the guy that I bought it from was able to get it off of Ed, and then he had to get rid of it, so I was able to.
So you said you set this up at schools, right? At
Yes.
school? So how did the kids respond?
The kids loved it. Now, of course, they would come in to tour with their parents. I did also do summer camps. So one of the camps that I run is a baseball summer camp. So we do 5 days of not playing baseball, but all of the mental stuff that goes behind it. So we learned about baseball geography per se, and what kind of goes into why would you name the team the Astros? Well, it does sort of have to do with our geography because of what lies here. Of course, NASA's down the road. What kind of food you have in the stadium, what type of stadium, dome or retractable roof or an open air stadium. So we talk about all kinds of baseball math, and at the end of it all, the kids got to tour the museum as well. So kids love it. They thought it was really cool. Of course, the younger kids, they're all younger, so they like to see the newer stuff. So they're looking for the Altuve and the Jordan stuff and the rings and things like that. But their parents really love walking on AstroTurf. I got a big 75 square foot piece of AstroTurf that runs the whole length of the museum, so people can walk on that on their way out. And there's a women in baseball display. We were fortunate enough to have one of the 3 women that played in the All-American Girls Professional Baseball League was from Houston. One of the 3 women from Texas. There was 2 from San Antonio, 1 from Houston. And yes, Red Mahoney. So very cool. I have a replica uniform of hers. It's not her uniform, but as one that I had commissioned to be made to represent her time with the South Bend Blue Sox and her number 26. So that's on display, and a few of the things. Casey Candell bat in that display. Does anybody know why we have Casey Candell associated? Exactly. They're actually the only known mother-son professional baseball duo out there. There's a lot of father-son and grandsons, but that's the only woman. Wow. So lots of other things. We do talk about the Buffs days. We go back to 1861 and talk all the way around to what's going on today. If you're ever able to see us set up when I'm able to do them, then please stop by. Other than that, I do the Touch of History or the Holding History tour or presentation. Actually, I do these at birthday parties and wherever. else people want to have me come out, you can pick the memorabilia you'd like to have out there, or I can just do a generic little Houston baseball history. Yes, sir.
Who hit the longest home run?
The longest in the dome, I'm not sure. I know that there was, what, 4 or 5 of them. Because
Bob Bailey.
visiting where,
I don't know, but I was there.
as far as Astros go, Doug Rader hit the first, and then that was an exhibition. And then 2 weeks later, Jimmy Wynn hit the first one in actual play. It's really weird because those did come in 1970, so 5 years after the dome opened, and it took 20 years before somebody else did it again. That was when Eric Anthony did it in 1990, and after him, Mike Sims did it, and one more. Forget this one.
But they only tried to.
Harold Strawberry.
No, it was like
I'll tell you who would have,
Oh, and ask.
who would have hit the longest home run in the afternoon.
Mike Schmidt, 1976, when he hit
I was there at that.
longest single.
Base. Speaker, the ball is in play. Cesar Cedeno is playing center field. He is backed up against the wall. The ball hits the speaker, and here comes Cedeno running full gallop. The runners are all holding because if he catches it, it's an out. And the ball bounces right in front of him, and Cedeno picks it up on a fly, throws it to second, almost nails the guy at second, but all the runners advance one base.
Oh, my God.
But that ball would have been by far the longest home run ever hit the dome. In fact, now it's the longest single that ever hit.
That's a true story. Minute Maid Park has the same rules. So every now and then you'll have one hitting the rafters at Minute Maid that'll fall. I think the only time I've ever seen that in person was in 2017 when we had Nori Aoki playing left field, and one was hit on a line. I mean, it was going, and of course he's running back just in case he can get before it gets to the Crawford boxes. And of course, it rattles around the rafters and falls back behind Bregman.
Well, here's your trivia question about the dome. One player actually hit the gondola during a game.
I didn't know.
Ernie Banks. Ernie Banks is the only man that hit the gondola.
Very cool. Yes, ma'am.
Say,
So
Yes.
is that the longest home?
That's the only upper deck home run at Minute Maid. Now, the trajectory go as far as that goes, over people that pull over to the left, I'm sure that some of those that went out of the stadium with the roof open.
the cool.
The pool halls one still hasn't come down. It's lodged in orbit, not the mascot, but the. Yeah. Questions? No.
I mean, if I don't say it enough, Chris needs to keep coming back to more meetings. So please, you know, you can have show and tell every day. Yes, sir.
I got a score update for you. Astros 4. Tampa Bay nothing. 5 shutout innings from Garcia, 2 shutout innings from Brown. Only 3 hits have been allowed.
Woo!
Tule has a homer. Tule has a homer. Bregman has a 2-run double, and the other run was driven in by Alvarez. There's an update.
Who had the homer?
Not too bad. All right, everyone, without further ado, we have another presentation. It shouldn't take long. There's only 100 pictures, 100 pictures from Baltimore. No, not really. Scott, Herb, Gloria, Lucha. Scott, you wanna come up here? No. No? All right.
I need you.
All right, so Bob, can you hear us?
Let me get this.
You muted.
I can hear you.
All right, so
You see that? Okay.
so I took a ton of pictures, and Herb took a lot of pictures. Gloria, you took a lot of pictures. Bob took a lot of pictures. If you haven't, who has never been to a convention? Never been to a SABR convention? Okay. Well, Vince, you and your fiance have no excuses because next year it's in Chicago. at the Palmer House. All right, so Debs and his fiance will be there. They already told me. Yep, no. July, the only problem is July 5th through the 8th. Yeah, July 5th through the 8th. What's that? And the White Sox are at home. But if you want to see the Cubs, you can do what I plan on doing and go in there a couple of days early to go watch the Cubs. So, yeah, Greg? Oh, I thought you were going to say something. Oh, I'm sorry. All right, so what we're going to do is, you've never been to a convention, a lot of great stuff happening, a lot of great presentations. So those of us that went, that want to come up here and talk about our pictures and what they found most rewarding about the convention itself, some of the fun things they did. Is Maxwell still on? Yeah, there. We're just going to kind of go through the pictures. Do you not want to come up here, or am I just going to sit up here by myself? Or
Why you got just got the pictures from your seat?
Okay, well,
be up there?
because some of them don't have a booming voice like I do.
We can speak loud enough. We need to.
Okay, all right, that's fine. We'll just kind of go through the pictures, Bob. That's okay. We'll just go ahead and start, and Bob's right there. Go ahead, Chris. Bob, you took this picture.
Yeah, this is the Inner Harbor. We've stayed at the Grand Hyatt in Baltimore, and that's kind of looking out the shopping area. Shops are all around there. The Hyatt was 3 blocks from Camden Yards and 3 more blocks to Babe Ruth's museum. Look, a neat location and a good hotel.
Go ahead. All right. So those of you who know me, I'm a history buff. So there's at least a couple of these you're going to get. Baltimore happens to be there's a dispute about this, but it's the resting place of Edgar Allan Poe. I got my dad an actual Edgar Allan Poe bobblehead, and he still laughs about it. But this is the original burial place of Edgar Allan Poe. It's a couple blocks away from Camden Yards. There's an actual memorial there as soon as you walk in. It's a very interesting. If you love history like I do, and I think I have one more history thing, and then it'll be all baseball. So. Yeah, I think he said Raven. Heck of the Ravens. Actually, by the way, Edgar Allan Poe is loved by the people of Baltimore. That is why their football team is named the Ravens. Because of Edgar Allan Poe. Also, finally, no, that is a true story. Fort McHenry, the site of Francis Scott Key, where he wrote the national anthem. I have the screen right here. They have to give you a little presentation, and it's a great presentation. And there's a surprise at the end that you have to go and see yourself. So that's all I'm going to say about that. So it's a great place. You never been. And there's me dressing up as there was a Civil War battle there, so I'm ready. But I'm representing SABR, even though I'm a Union officer. So go ahead. All right. Wait a minute, what'd you say?
Looks like Chuck Thompson branding.
Yeah, kind of. Well, I'm a business.
That group was very fortunate in that one of our members set up reservations at this particular seafood restaurant.
Go ahead, Maxwell.
Unfortunately, he didn't pay.
Maxwell, you want to talk about why you decided to do this?
Why I decided to do it?
About Phillips?
Well, my first trip to Baltimore was 1991, the year they closed Memorial Stadium. And I can remember going with my mother and father to Phillips Restaurant. It was in the Light Street Pavilion at the time. And it is a well-known restaurant, sort of a Baltimore style or Maryland style seafood. And crab cakes are the main dish. Everything's made with Old Bay spice. I figured if you want to try something that's local and you don't have to go that far from the hotel, I thought this would be a good place to try. And I think everybody liked what they had.
Yeah, great. Delicious. This is how much they love Old Bay. When you check in at the SABR convention, you usually get a grab bag full of goodies. And naturally, in this one, there was a little thing of Old Bay. So, So here are the pictures of us at the restaurant here. So we're all excited, I guess. All right, this is a chapter leaders meeting. This is that's Peter Petrell. Is that his name, Bob? But here's Scott Bush, the CEO of SABR there, talking to all of us leaders. Interesting stuff. So go ahead.
It's a stretch of 17 in a row. We mentioned this in team.
Herb, you took this picture?
Yeah, this was the baseball announcers, what do you call it?
Panel?
Panel, yeah. Down on the left with gray hair is baseball announcer for the Boston Red Sox, Joe Thompson. And the young guy to his left is Kevin Brown, who is, I believe, the TV announcer for CBT here, right? Sure. They're very different because Joe had, 30, 40 years experience. Kevin, it's only been with the Orioles, I think, 3 or 4 years. But they shared a lot of good insight on home teams. Go ahead.
I don't know who took this.
I think I did too. That's the lady second from the left is Kurt Flood's wife. And it was a panel mainly about Kurt Flood. And don't remember a whole lot else more about that. But the other people are one of the guys, I think the guy on the far left there is a writer. The guy to her left is a SABR.
Strike to ball ratio, very good out of that. 39 pitches.
And the other lady on the far right is the moderator. That's Bob.
Bob, you get a lot of background noise on yours. That's why I keep muting you.
I think Kurt Flood relates to Bob.
He's traded in Trump's oil. No, I don't think that had anything to do with it. I think it was just trying to remember why it's particularly. I think they want to do a lot with women baseball and about free agency and all that stuff. She's been very active trying to get him into the Hall of Fame. And she's very well spoken, very interesting. Yeah, basically was talking.
Yeah, this is Kurt Flood's wife.
Basically,
This is Mark Armour.
Yeah.
He's what is he say? He's high up there anyway.
He's a president.
President, say. Yeah, okay. That's right. Thanks, Maxwell.
All
right. Y'all recognize this person? All right, I have some swag for Baltimore. Who is it first?
Boone's Barbecue.
Huh?
Boone's Barbecue.
Boone's Barbecue. Okay. Anybody want to talk about this panel?
I think I'll look into. He looks great. He was talking about Chris Rawls. I've seen some pictures later. It's just during all these guys. All right, Chris Rawls in there. It's over around the same age. For the Boone's age, he looks speaks very well. Got great memories. A lot of detail that he talked about. Great person to have on this panel. Yeah, so
They asked him, what made Earl Weaver a great manager? Why was Earl so great? Would you guys have done as well with any other manager? I said, yeah.
Yeah, I forgot. You were there too.
Turned
All
off
right.
the TV. He told an interesting story about the fact that he liked to entertain the players after a game. And he would take them over to his house for some barbecue and a few cups. If you know what that means. Frank Robinson finally told Boog, I cannot continue to come over to your house after a game. We go over there about 7 or 8 o'clock after a game on Sunday, And next thing I know, I'm looking at my watch and it's 10 o'clock and it's time to go to the ballpark again. 10 o'clock in the morning. I thought it was funny.
I took these. This is the lunch, right, Scott? That's Tim Kirkchen.
Yeah.
Always
ESPN announced.
Yeah, he's about this tall.
He flew in from the.
No joke. Yeah, he flew in from the Little League World Series and he had to go back after this talk. So told some funny stories. This over here, the Babe Ruth panel. Jane Levy was supposed to, the one who wrote Big Fella. She was supposed to show up, but she got sick. She couldn't. This is Bill Jenkinson, who wrote the year Babe Ruth hit 104 home runs. That was an interesting story based on the dimensions of
Arsenal.
yeah, something like that. So
Yankee Stadium today,
what's that?
Yankee Stadium today, I'm just.
I've seen that book before. It's about the dimensions of what old Yankee Stadium used to be. The fences were a
there
lot
you go.
deeper before, and the rules were different too. So back in those days, if you hit a walk-off home run, but you were only down by one run in the batter, you actually got on already, you weren't credited with a home run. You were credited with however many bases you would have taken by the time the winning run scored. So if you only needed 2 bases for that winning run to go across the plate, then you get a double instead of a home run. So there was a bunch of those that he hit.
Rule for a while that you hit a ball that just went fair, but a sure foul and landed foul after it passed the foul pole, foul ball. That was for a few years.
Yeah, the interesting thing I found out about Babe Ruth, they told a story that he hurt his knee in 1918, the early part of his career, and basically played with the hurt knee based on the medicine of the time, basically played his whole career with a bum knee. And he didn't get it fixed until real close to his death. So they were speculating, imagine if Babe Ruth had a healthy knee. So I asked them, I like to have conversations with people online. Some people have said in the recent past that nowadays Ohtani would strike out Babe Ruth on 3 pitches and take him deep. And I asked them about that, and they just sort of shook their head like these people are crazy. So great stuff. Go ahead. Go ahead, Gloria.
This is the house that Babe Ruth grew up in. And it's now the Babe Ruth Museum. And they've done a really good job of not only having some of the original furniture and stuff in there, but also just all kinds of photographs and mementos. And it's fascinating.
Yeah,
Absolutely fascinating.
he was born in this house.
Uh-huh.
Go ahead. The neat thing about this, it's normally open 10 to 5, but on game day, it's open 10 to 6. Wait a minute, open till 6 for home night games. Yeah, that was it. There's Gloria, there we go. There's Gloria right there. She took both of these.
Yep.
It's actually you got it.
I mean, you're right. Mike's always calling me out. Who took it? You did?
Which of did.
So. I've had a long day. Give me a break, all right? I took this picture. This is inside the museum here. It's the rookie card. It is
1914.
It is 10 Ruth rookie cards are known to exist. It is easy to understand why the rookie card race is one of sports' most valued collectibles. What they say it was worth 14 million or something. No, some crazy amount.
Yeah.
This card by itself. So,
Well, that card was eclipsed just now by 52 top analysts. 12.6 million.
yeah, something. Wow. This is the room that Babe was born in. February 6, 1895. What's that, Mike? Okay. Go ahead. Bob, you took this picture?
I did. Can you hear me?
Yeah, it's an interesting
Okay.
story. Go ahead.
This is interesting. This is the duplex, two houses actually side by side. One was lived in by John McGraw and the other was lived in by Wilbert Robinson, who became bitter foes when they were with the Giants and Dodgers. But when they were with the Orioles, they lived side by side in those two houses.
Interesting. How'd you find that?
They
Found out on the
actually
bus
had-
tour.
Yeah, they actually had one of those bus tour people that talked.
I missed that.
Our,
Okay.
our tour operator didn't say anything, did he? Or he couldn't understand. Yeah, and the mic kept going out.
You know, the Dodgers were known as the Robins.
Did not know it. This right here is the spot, the former site of Westport Park. We did a Baltimore Lost Ballparks bus tour. Westport Park is, let me see, it was built in 1916 to host a team in Baltimore in the Ohio Intramural League. Charles Spedden, who purchased the Baltimore Black Sox in 1917, also was in charge of the field for the railroad and leased the park for himself as a railroad agent for his Black Sox team. So this is where they play. I like taking these. It's interesting. It's a picture of the old Westport Park. That's where it's at.
It's at 5,000 feet.
Right.
Pretty good size thing.
This is another place. This one was, it's where we first got out. We first found out about, this was the day the Astros scored 21 runs on the White Sox. I said, hey, Bob, we scored 3 touchdowns. So this was the site of, you remember, Bob, Herb?
It's Union Park.
This was after, yeah, Union Park. Okay. This is the old Oriole Park. This was actually from the wall of the old park. It's now a brewery inside of that.
Electrical lift station.
Yeah, here's the Orioles from 1925 inside the brewery. Go ahead. And here is Scott and his wife and some ugly dude next to her. That's Memorial Park. So go ahead. It's Bob getting ready to knock one out of the park, and there's an ugly guy just standing.
Oriole Park.
It's Memorial Park, right?
Memorial
Oh, this is Memorial Stadium. This is
Memorial Stadium. Yeah, stadium. Go ahead.
The grounds have been preserved.
Grounds have been preferred. That's right. This is the day we went to Camden Yards. They have quite a few statues at Camden Yards. This is the statue of Babe Ruth. And this is us walking in. Beautiful place. Gorgeous. Gorgeous day. Here are the birds of Baltimore.
That's what this one we.
This is the next one with the seat. No, here's some more statues. There's Babe.
I think that's
It looks like a little bit. Is that?
Jim Palmer.
Wow, that's an early win.
Earl Weaver.
No, there.
Eddie Murray. Eddie Murray. Yeah. You see her there in the background? Taking a picture of herself.
They had a whole display just about his last.
Right.
Yeah, a whole display about what? Cal Ripken's last year.
Go ahead. There are 2 orange seats at Camden Yards. 2 oranges.
Yeah.
The first one here, where Cal Ripken Jr. hit his home run that put him in the #1 spot of most career home runs by a shortstop. Section 86, row FFC 10. I took this picture. Can anybody tell me the significance of this seat? If you do, I have something to pick.
They ran out of green ones and they had to pull one from the old Memorial Stadium.
Okay, what? Who said it?
Jim Gentile.
Huh?
Jim Gentile. He had 2 grand slams on one game.
What's the significance of that orange seat again?
That was the 5th grand slam he hit in 1961.
Was it all? Was it home run derby? Griffey?
Eddie Murray. Eddie Murray's home run. So, but you already got something. I mean,
Or if he's flying.
all right. So the last day, the Asheville Tourists, the Astros single A team, playing the Aberdeen Ironbirds. So the group of us took a trip down to Aberdeen to see the Tourists and Ironbirds. So this is Colt Stadium. Herb wanted to get there early, so we got that shirt, right? Got that little giveaway. Was that you that said, let's make sure we get there early so we get the giveaway? All right. So that sounds. Bob, you want to tell the story of who this person is that you're standing next to?
Yeah, that's an interesting person. She is the bus driver of the Asheville team, and she travels with the team wherever they go. She's away from home, every other week, and she loves the kids. She calls them the kids. She's not much older than they are, but she calls them the kids.
Go ahead. Bob took this picture. Anybody know who that is? Know who this is, right? You know his older brother.
This is J.R. Carrera, the younger brother of our former shortstop. And he's having a very good year. In fact, he's been invited to play in the Arizona League. He played third base when we were there, but he's played mostly at catcher. He's not quite as sleek or as fast as his brother, but he can hit.
Yes, he can. Not as tall either. How old is he? How old is he? 20-ish.
Yeah, early 20s.
This is Corey and Matt here. Hey, so Herb, you can tell me about this player. What is the significance of this player? At the game, you kept telling me about this guy. Wasn't he in the Astros organization? Is that what you told me? Jonathan Ross? Oh, yeah. That's the order got traded. And he now plays for Aberdeen.
Oh, that was a nasty trip. No, that was before that. That's right. That was at least a year ago.
Okay.
Wow.
This game was very fast. I mean, believe it or not, it was what? 2 hours and 10 minutes? It was unbelievable how fast it was.
Pitch clock.
Pitch clock, but it was just moving just like that.
Buzz clock.
It was a clock that it was quick. So that too. And this is the hitting coach of the Asheville Tourists, and he saw my get up here and he was so excited about that. So we took a picture together, and Bob said, Joe, you should have asked him to talk to the group. I'm like, yeah, you're right, Bob, I should. But there we go.
Should have told him your name's Steve Miller. He'd been more impressed.
That's right.
That's
So
left.
call me the gangster of love, though, right?
That's left.
Okay, that's
One of
it.
the things that was interesting about the ballpark, we were told that if we asked for the SABR discount, we get a special price. And the special price was $10 plus
Yes.
a free t-shirt. So we said, okay, that's great. We'll sit somewhere. It's covered. We sat in the very best seats right behind home plate. We
That's
called
right,
balls and
Bob.
strikes. It was
You got
awesome.
a $20 t-shirt. Awesome. It was awesome stuff.
That is awesome.
So that's another reason for you to go to a SABR convention. Find little nuggets like this. And I was looking for something like this, and I said, "Holy cow! The Astros team is playing." So this is why all of you should go to Chicago next year. Okay.
When you toured the Babe Ruth Museum, did they tell you this story?
No.
So when they were digging the field for Camden,
Uh-huh.
Babe Ruth's sister was still alive.
Uh-huh.
And she went out where they were excavating and pointed out where Babe had played street ball as a kid. So believe it or not, Babe Ruth played in the outfield at Camden Yards before there ever was. Wow.
Wow.
Well, there you go.
That's it.
Only at a SABR meeting. We have you see, you should never miss a meeting. Never miss a meeting. Bet you didn't know that. You know. Gloria, was there anything that stood out
Well,
at the whole convention for you?
one interesting thing, besides hearing Kurt Flood's wife, which I really enjoyed, they had a panel about women in baseball. And I think maybe they were all with the Baltimore team. But when we wound up going, one of the women is actually the head groundskeeper for the team. So when we went to the ball game, we saw her out on the field, you know, raking the dirt and watering the base paths and stuff like that. So that, I thought that was something I wasn't expecting to hear. And the other thing that Lucha and I did, since we both like to eat, we were asking people where to get good crab cakes in Baltimore, and people said everywhere. But we went to a place called Faidley's. Yeah, Faidley. These were the best crab cakes in the whole world, and they actually ship them all over the world. That's how good they are. It's a big place, but they didn't have any chairs. People just stood at tables eating crabs. They had all kinds of seafood, but that was good. That was the best. Faidley. So I think that's it. Yeah, you know what? The other interesting thing was all the posters in that room. They had an exhibit of poster collections, and that was, I didn't get to hear any of them presented, but that was pretty fascinating as well. Oh yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
One of the things that I enjoyed the most was the presentation by Sig Meidel, who was the assistant general manager of the Baltimore Orioles. He gave his background where he started with the St. Louis Cardinals, went to Houston, and of course now is in Baltimore. And they're pretty pleased with their ball club, who is above 500 today. And one of the things he said was, shockingly to us, that they had the Baltimore club had never scouted in the Caribbean. They didn't have any scouts down there, and they hadn't signed anybody from that part of the country. Is there any wonder they're in last place all the time? They now have a major complex underway, and they have scouts down in Puerto Rico and Venezuela. But he was excellent and a very bright young guy. And he even remembered SABR 44, where he spoke at our convention. Pretty cool guy. And another good speaker, excellent speaker that we haven't mentioned yet is the guy whose face I'm looking at right now. Maxwell gave a really good talk to the group. He sure did a selling job for the Houston chapter. He sure mentioned us every other word.
Thanks. Anything you want to say, Maxwell?
Yes. In terms of highlights, you talked a little bit about the ballpark tour. Has anyone here ever been to a game at Memorial Stadium?
Yep. Yes.
No.
I have.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, few people.
Did you take the bus from downtown?
No.
Well, what they used to do is they had a bus running every day that there was a game from downtown. The route that we took along Charles Street and then along 33rd Street. That was the same route that the bus took. So it was like reliving childhood again. Just going up, taking the bus up Charles Street and across, and then going onto the field at Memorial Stadium. It was, that for me was, I find so many of the conventions, the highlight is not something that you can predict. It's not something that you find in the tour guide. But that for me, just being able to relive that again, that was a highlight.
Let me add something about Memorial Stadium. Because when my wife and my son went one time when we were on a trip in the east, that was the first place that I had ever been. And except for maybe in my youth in Cincinnati, where when we drove, and they still parked cars front to back. There were no exit aisles. In other words, once you're in, you're in. And I remember that they used to do that in Cincinnati, and that was not uncommon actually in the east back in the day. It wasn't until baseball expanded further west that we changed things. We started to allow cars in and out and all that sort of stuff. And I mean, for instance, if they use that system in Dodger Stadium, all the fans would have to stay because they couldn't get out before the game's over anyway. And that was the way it was. The other thing they were doing in Montreal or in the Memorial Stadium, which is another throwback to the past, if you bought your ticket in a third base ticket window, that's the side you were going to be sitting on. And the same thing at first base, because it was a leftover from the days before everything was computerized. The only tickets they had were the ones for their side of the ballpark. And they were still doing that. And that was the two things I remembered, but it brought back memories to the even older days where that was very common.
I think the old Memorial Stadium, which looks really nice now, is maintained by the Cal Ripken Foundation.
Correct.
And kids are using it today to play baseball.
So stupid question. I saw that the diamond is there, but what else is there at the old ballpark site?
From the old park, I'm not sure.
Right. They're using for youth football.
Yeah, they use it.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
That's right. I just looked this up and talking about that card that is on display, the rookie card. This is from CNBC last year, a 1914 Babe Ruth baseball card worth about $6 million. And the first to feature the Major League Baseball icon as a player was recently sold at a record-breaking price for a sports collectible. And now the public has a chance to own it through stock shares or something called collectible. The company said a private buyer recently purchased the card. While it didn't disclose the price due to a non-disclosure agreement with the card seller, it said the acquirer paid more than the previous record of $5.2 million paid for 1952 Mickey Mantle baseball card game. LeBron James rookie card sold at 5.2. So now that card is the most.
No. The 52, there was a 52 Topps Mantle.
It's right here, Glenn.
I'll tell you, just 2 weeks. 52 Topps Mantle was sold 2 weeks ago.
Well, there you go, 2 weeks.
It was a great, and it sold for $12.6 million, eclipsing the previous high of the Honus Wagner T206, which was the previous record holder at 10.1 million.
Well, it's CNBC. I mean, what are you going to get from the news, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's the news. What am I supposed to do? You know?
By the way, it is official. The Astros have won the West.
Well, there you go.
They won today 49. Three scoreless in behind Garcia. And so the pitching was super again. And that was great.
Magic number 7.
Wins 7-inch. Yeah. Right.
Magic number 7, I think.
Okay, so it's 8:30. It's time for a trivia contest. I have some things. Museum lanyard. I got a pin from Camden Yards. I got a pin from Saber 50. So trivia contest winners, I can pick some of this stuff up. And if somebody else wants to grab something, my wife says I have too much crap anyway. So
Got a totally different quiz tonight.
this
You
is
don't have to know anything about baseball.
New questions.
It's more general knowledge. I do have a couple of comments. Can't remember them though. Oh, Maxwell talked about the bus. How many of y'all used to remember the bus that came over from that bar on I-10 and Kirby's? The double decker would drive to the Astrodome. They would get their patrons and drive them over. They had a keg on the double decker bus. They would drive them to the game, then they would pick them up and drive them back. That was before Mothers Against Drunk Drivers, even though patrons weren't driving back to the bar.
Is that called the relief pitcher bus?
I don't know what it would, no, I don't think so. That's a good additive on that.
Here, I'll pass.
Oh, it's called the
And-
we don't need a pitcher.
Yeah, yeah. Friends. And then Baltimore not using any Latins. Did y'all see on Roberto Clemente Day that the Rays played it? Accidentally played an all Latino lineup
Yeah.
on Roberto Clemente Day. None of them were from Puerto Rico, but still, it's the first time it's happened.
You want me to pass them out? Or?
Yeah, go ahead. And this is a team game. So get a little group together. This was inspired by this baseball card. I saw this card and went, I didn't know that guy played ball. I've known him very well all my life. So the rest of these are questions about people you've heard about all your life that also had a guy with their name play baseball.
We'll play it.
There are little hints in the questions. There's only 10 questions, 12 questions. And there's a tiebreaker in case there's a tie.
Yeah, I saw it. I put it up.
So you might have fun with this because if you can get the hints in the question, you don't even know that you know that. And you probably never heard of baseball.
We have pens over anywhere here. Sure, you will, right?
I have a pen you can borrow.
You, Mike, thank you. I appreciate that. It's good to see you. Hey, Chris, these are speaking of swag from Baltimore. Why don't you come pick some? So I have a pin from Camden Yards. I have a pin favorite 50. Landry, this is Ripken Field. There, you know. Click the link there. Is that okay? Yeah, go ahead. Well, Chris.
And the first one is probably the hardest. But you might do the other ones that go back first.
Guys. You're gonna read the questions so people online can you want me to read the questions, Mike?
Well, let me hold it up. I'll read.
I'll do it, read it very well.
Can't say it.
Okay. Although the player to the right only played 1 year in the majors, 1952 for the Boston Braves, throws left outfielder is one of the most popular names in sports bars across the U.S.
Oh, I got you.
Okay. Number 2 is this infielder played for the Phillies, White Sox, Pirates, Tigers, and Braves from 77 to 88 with a lifetime average of 260 and 112 homers. He could light a fire under his teammates with his open doors policy. There's no picture for that one. Number 3 is this picture. Playing an inaugural year of the Detroit Tigers, which was 1901.
Probably not. Yeah, you don't worry about it.
All right, Bob?
You probably talking back.
Yeah.
I thought it was court.
This Texas hero pictured to the left did not really have a season to remember. He kind of lost this battle too. All right, number 4. He only played for 2 minor league seasons in the minor. Doesn't see there. I meant to put in the 40s. It was during World War II. But his secret career was majestic and his number was 7. All right, number 5. This might get you on the right track. This guy plays a mean guitar and is currently batting cleanup for Seattle.
As of today?
Yeah.
Today, you bet.
This is currently, well, it might have been yesterday. I didn't check the back score. Did Seattle play today? But he did last week. Okay, this reliever was known as the Beard. And he wished all his teammates could be California girls. So I can play back. All right.
I know that one. Got one.
This utility infielder had a presidential name, and he played for Washington. And he also had the same birthday as the president.
Oh.
With the same name, all the different years. Okay, this guy was a believer because he played in the Detroit outfield between Hall of Famers Ty Cobb and Harry Hamilton. And you couldn't monkey around at his luster. Uh-oh. I print out the right second pages.
9.
Yeah, that was incorrect. I got it. Number 9. He did not have to come to America as he was born in New York. This ball player was nicknamed Honest Eddie, as he was not among the 8 members of his 1919 White Sox team that were banned from baseball. Although he was the first batter that Babe Ruth ever pitched to in a game, he never lived in Beverly Hills.
Or should I?
Shut up, Maxwell. Number 10. This infielder finished his 11-year career with Houston in 73. He was not just acting. He could really play baseball. All right, number 11. This player's name should have a ring to it. Another infielder, he played 10 years for the Cards and Cubs. He might talk your ear off, but that's about it. Number 12, another player whose name has a ring to it. This outfielder played 10 years for the Cardinals, Cleveland, Reds, and Orioles from 47 to 56, and then he later managed the shop. And when his bat got hot, they said he was smoking. Then I have a tiebreaker. Yeah. All right.
I agree. Where did he go?
You even got one, Chris?
I got one, no, 2. I got 2 of them.
Tom wants to. That's his heart.
I think I got.
Oh, nice job.
I'm not a trivia guy.
Nothing to do with trivia.
Well, number 1 though.
That's true, yeah, so yeah.
That's a possibility. It's not the brush.
That's the name that pops in my head.
That one did not come to mind. I can hear a lot of discussion, but I'm not gonna have problems.
No.
It's kind of fun. Hey, Matt, you can't go. How you doing, Greg? You don't want to play? Oh, you can do better than that.
How much time is what it got?
I'll get a couple more minutes. Maxwell, how many you got?
Not that many. Maybe 5.
85.
That's pretty good.
Maybe.
How you doing, Bob? Are we about ready? I do. No. I mean, you ready, Bob? Do I need to repeat any of the questions?
How many did Bob get?
Oh, we don't know. We haven't given the answers yet. All right, you ready, Herb? Okay, let's go ahead with the answers. Now, this one is the one that really inspired me for this quiz, so you can blame him. And although the player to the right only played 1 year in the majors, 1952, for the Braves, Boston Braves, Bat left, throws left outfielder is one of the most popular names in sports bars across the US. So I bought his baseball card when I saw this, so I could use it. All right, any guesses?
Cheers.
No. Now, Joe had a good guess. It was wrong. He guessed Harvey Wallbanger. I can tell you it's not Ezra Brooks. It's not I.W. Harper. It's not Jim. It's Jack Daniels. That's right.
I said Budweiser.
But it's Jack Daniels. I said, you're kidding me. I've been following baseball all this time. Didn't know there was a guy named Jim. You got to admit, he's one of the most popular names in sports bars. All right, number 2, this infielder played for the Phillies, White Sox, Pirates, Tigers, and Braves from 77 to 88 with a lifetime average of 260 and 112 home runs. He could light a fire under his teammates with his open doors policy.
Jim Morrison.
Jim Morrison, very good.
Yeah.
There you go. Great
Give
people.
that reference.
Playing as an inaugural year of the Detroit Tigers, this Texas hero, pictured to the left, did not really have a season to remember, and he lost this battle too.
William Travis.
Jim Bowie. No, you're looking at Davy Crockett.
No.
You remember the Alamo? Yeah, his season wasn't that good either. He lost. It was his only year in 1901. Okay, he had played for 2 minor league seasons, I meant to say in the 40s. But his secret career was majestic and his number was 7. James Bond, there you go. This guy plays a mean guitar and is currently batting cleanup for Seattle.
Yeah.
Carlos Santana.
Carlos Santana.
Maybe so. Get to listen to one of his riffs on YouTube, looking this up. Pretty good. Okay, this reliever was known as the Beard. He wished all his teammates could be California girls.
Brian Wilson.
Brian Wilson, there you go. And he wrote California girls. This utility infielder had a presidential manner, and he played for Washington. John Kennedy. That's right. And he had the same birthday as President Kennedy. This guy was a believer because he played in the Detroit outfield between Hall of Famers Ty Cobb and Harry Allen.
Davy Jones.
Couldn't monkey around in his locker. Davy Jones. Davy Jones. That's one of Dierker's favorites. Trivia questions. Yeah. Davy Jones' locker, and Davy Jones was the lead singer. And their big song was He's a Believer. Good.
Yeah, well, technically, I believe it was copyrighted by Davy Jones. It was sung by Nick Dover.
Question was, how many people pitched 5 innings and qualified? He didn't know. He's not among the 8 members of the 1919 White Sox. It was banned from baseball, although he was the first batter Babe Ruth ever pitched to. He never lived in Beverly Hills.
Eddie Murphy.
Eddie Murphy. People got that. Oh, now. Eddie Murphy. Down and out Beverly Hills, coming to America.
Beverly Hills Cup.
Yeah.
Coming to America.
Oh, that Nick Nolte down at, yes, Beverly Hills Cup.
Beverly Hills. Yeah.
All right, this infielder finished his 11-year career with Houston in 73. He was not just acting, he could really play ball. Jimmy Stewart. Wow. This player's name should have a ring to it. Another infielder. He played 10 years for the Cards and Cubs. He might talk your ear off, but that's about it.
Mike Tyson.
Mike Tyson.
Oh,
He might talk your ear off, but he's not going to fight next year. And see, had a ring to it. All right. Another player's name who has a ring to it. This outfielder played 10 years for the Cardinals, Cleveland Reds, and Orioles, 47 to 56. He later managed. When his bat got hot, they say he was smoking.
Joe.
Smoking Joe face. And I think you all got the, well, let's see if we need the tiebreaker.
All right,
Who got 3? Who got 4? Who got 5? 6? 7? Chris. Good.
You get to do it next month.
Smoking Chris next time.
Finally got on a wheelhouse.
What's the tiebreaker?
Coco Chris.
Go Chris. There you go. Chris Chestnut for the win.
Never.
Never.
select something here. This is from Camden Yards. Saber 50. This is Cal's. Which the hat?
Here.
That's it. They gave it away.
Oh, it's
You had 6. All right, you got a choice between this.
You gave it a hand.
no second place.
Second place.
Oh.
You got this
Come on, pick, Ben.
drink cup.
See
You
what-
got a Saber 50 pin or a Camden Yards pin.
Get a pen for your head. And who had 5?
Oh, get Mike his pen.
Who got 5?
We did. We're all three. New guy here.
New guy.
And if it's okay.
We'll give one to Chris to present.
All right, here's him, Chris.
All right. Then we'll give it to
I got something for you next month.
Catch.
Yeah, here you go. You really gonna throw them? Here, y'all can just check this out and hand it back to what's your name again? Yeah,
Yeah. What was it?
It was a Saber 50 lapel pin.
Oh, that's from the convention that,
That's for the convention.
who hosted that?
Saber, both.
Oh, what was ours? 40?
Ours 44. All right, everybody. I hope you had a great time tonight. Next month, depending on the Astros playoff situation, we will be here October the 17th. Also, don't forget, I'm going to have a meet the new chapter members thing on Zoom, October the 8th. So all the new people, I expect to see y'all online. Let's get to know something about y'all while you join Saber, what we can do to make your experience better so you don't just leave after 1 year. All right. Hey, y'all have a great September and enjoy this nice, lovely fall weather. See you October the 17th. Bye-bye. Thank you. Bye, everybody. What is? Yeah. You got much to do?